Okumura is a bitter recluse who finds solace only in the idealized world of 2D anime girls, having been scarred by real-life experiences with women. His mother left him for another man, and his childhood crush rejected his romantic advances, labeling him as creepy. Now, he pours all his energy into his manga club, seeking escape through his obsession with his favorite fictional character, Lilliel. One day, a girl named Ririsa stumbles into the club, requesting membership. Okumura is immediately thrown off guard, questioning why a real girl would be interested in a space dedicated to fantasy and idealized female forms. His instinct is to get rid of her, and he sees an opportunity when she expresses excitement over the display of figurine dolls. He figures that showcasing these stylized figures will send the message that this club isn't for her. However, Ririsa surprises him by demonstrating a surprising level of sophistication. Instead of being disgusted, she critiques the color choices of the doll's attire, suggesting alternative materials would be more fitting. Okumura is caught between his desire to expel her and a newfound curiosity about this unexpected, cultured soulmate. Ririsa, sensing his hesitation, apologizes for being overly critical and for judging others' tastes in clothing. Okumura probes further, questioning how someone could be interested in such imaginative and fantastical narratives. Ririsa reveals that she's always been a little different, even as a child. Witnessing her shy demeanor, Okumura attempts to foster her love for Lilliel, only to be challenged by Ririsa's declaration that no one loves the fictional character more than she does. Okumura scoffs at this claim, but Ririsa insists on putting him to the test, explaining that she's a skilled self-inserter, imagining herself as Lilliel within the story. Suddenly, her attention shifts to a movie playing on screen, and she launches into a passionate fangirl rant. As they watch scenes from one of Lilliel's movies, both Okumura and Ririsa lose themselves in the fantasy. However, he quickly remembers his deep-seated aversion to romantic involvement with real women. Ririsa blushes and asks him for a peculiar favor. She confesses to having a unique hobby she's never shared with anyone. To her surprise, Okumura responds with a quote from an anime they both clearly love. Ririsa's recognition of the quote deeply shocks Okumura, realizing that he's encouraging this unusual girl instead of shutting her down. But it's too late. Ririsa's eyes gleam as she rummages through her bag and pulls out a collection of discs with covers that I will not show in full here. She excitedly explains her desire to create a cosrams, the fusion of cosplay photos and videos, featuring herself as Lilliel. Okumura recoils in discomfort, questioning why she would want to dress up like that, but Ririsa reminds him not to judge his own kind. She reveals that her obsession began in childhood, fearing that revealing it would lead to unwanted attention from authorities. But when she attended an anime convention in high school, surrounded by like-minded individuals, she realized there was nothing wrong with embracing these fantasies. Now, Ririsa proudly owns her costume passion and dreams of making a cosrams featuring Lilliel herself. She apologetically asks Okumura for his help, offering to take pictures when she joins the club. He protests, but she explains that she feels safer trusting him, someone who shares her passion for Lilliel, than a random stranger. Ririsa reveals that she's known exactly what kind of content she wanted to create since high school, never expecting to find someone like Okumura. She believes fate has brought them together. With that said, Ririsa formally requests membership in the club. While Okumura remembers his exclusive Sausage Fest tradition, he ultimately agrees, finding himself drawn into this bizarre reality of shared obsession and cosrams. Ririsa's face lights up at Okumura's acceptance into the club, but his attempt to reassure her with a comment about only being attracted to non-talking figures backfires spectacularly. He catches her removing her skirt before he can process what's happening, demanding to know why she's displaying such a personal article of clothing in front of him. Innocently, Ririsa explains that she just wants to showcase one of her costumes. Okumura panics, quickly covering the windows to prevent any unwanted gazes and protect their club from a potential influx. While he struggles to contain himself, Ririsa gets dressed in full Lilliel cosplay. When he finally turns around, it's like staring into another dimension. She's a perfect replica of the anime character, complete with every detail down to the catchphrase that sends Okumura into a nosebleed frenzy. He recovers enough to be stunned by her resemblance and finds himself utterly speechless as Ririsa pulls out a piece of clothing for his opinion. Then she turns around, revealing a part of her outfit that is normally hidden, and Okumura feels overwhelmed. Later, he wakes up on Ririsa's lap, who has been anxiously watching over him. She mentions her debut photo shoot the next day, and Okumura immediately transforms back into red color, overwhelmed by the implications of their burgeoning relationship. He spends the following morning in crisis mode, wrestling with the realization that he might be falling for a real girl after swearing never to stray from his beloved manga page. Ririsa enters and finds him watching a rare OVA she'd always dreamed of seeing. She asks him about it, and Okumura excitedly launches into a detailed explanation, reveling in his newfound connection with her over shared passions. When she asks how he knows so much, he offers to show her his research methods. They grab gamepads and start playing, and Okumura feels like everything is going to be okay. He can't escape the feeling that their relationship is heading towards uncharted territory, but for the moment, he chooses to savor this shared joy and embrace the chaos of it all. The game session takes an unexpected turn when Ririsa pauses, pointing out Lilliel's outfit details in a pivotal scene. She pulls out her phone to take pictures for accuracy, aiming to capture every detail. Her dedication is definitely paying off, as Okumura feels a rush of admiration at the sight of her full commitment to the character. Ririsa decides to fully embody Lilliel and starts changing into another outfit, leaving Okumura scrambling to cover the windows to maintain some privacy. He tries to convince himself that he's simply impressed by her dedication, but the truth is more complex. When she asks him to take photos of a new outfit, Okumura immediately recognizes it from the manga, tears welling up in his eyes. And despite being completely out of his element, Okumura finds himself genuinely enjoying the experience. Lilliel is happy with the results, proud that her love for Lilliel shines through in the photos. While she's ecstatic about her cosplay, Okumura still struggles to process the fact that someone else shares her passions so intensely. Ririsa is ready to change back, but informs him her zipper is stuck and she needs his help. He quickly tries to assist, trying desperately to avoid any accidental glimpses of anything too revealing. But fate has other plans. They both trip, sending her tumbling into his arms. She thanks him for catching her, but then points out that he also caught something else accidentally. Okumura nearly has a heart attack, swearing it was an accident. Ririsa simply laughs it off and asks for some privacy to change, so he grabs his bag and runs like hell. Once she's changed back, she blushes furiously, wondering why her heart is racing. She suspects a fever, but something else is definitely going on. The next day, the school receives a surprise enrollment, a famous model who seems to have a particular distaste for manga and, oddly enough, Okumura's face. As she walks through the halls, all the boys become love-struck sips, drooling over her perfect physique while the other girls become mere background characters. Makari asks the losers if they have a manga club, and one of them thinks he's about to get lucky until she declares her hatred for manga. Okumura is a walking mess, blaming the universe for his recent brush with heaven as he stumbles towards the club room. He desperately hopes Ririsa isn't there this time, but alas, the pink-haired chaos magnet is already waiting. They share an awkward silence before Okumura brings up the morning's commotion. The new student, a famous model who apparently has no love for manga or Okumura. Ririsa surprises him by calling the model cute, and then proceeds to gush about how perfect she'd be as Lilliel's best friend. Okumura realizes with a shudder that Ririsa is just a bit too invested. Suddenly, Ririsa pulls out an old camera, the one his senpai used to capture their infamous sausage fests. Okumura's gaze lingers on the pictures, bringing back a flood of memories, both good and bad. Ririsa notices and apologizes for pushing him too hard last time, asking what he wants to do instead. Surprisingly, Okumura suggests taking pictures of her cosplay. She starts changing into her costume with reckless abandon for their first round. But then, disaster strikes. She realizes she couldn't pack her cosplay because teachers were searching bags that morning. Undeterred, Ririsa pulls Okumura along and suggests taking practice shots in an empty classroom while she's in uniform. As she geeks out over the camera, Okumura wonders why he's getting worked up. After all, it's not Lilliel. They start the photo shoot, with Okumura doing his usual thing. But when Ririsa takes a look at the pictures, her face falls flat. She declares herself horrible and apologizes for not being 2D enough. Okumura thinks she looks just normal, but Ririsa reveals her deep desire to become Lilliel. Ririsa, in a fit of misguided creativity, decides to incorporate her uniform into her cosplay. She ditches her glasses, shortens her skirt, and applies makeup. Okumura finds himself questioning if he has a preference for unconventional styles, then quickly tries to refocus on Lilliel. Ririsa, however, isn't satisfied with her current pose. She deems it too tame and decides to try something more dramatic by, well, striking a provocative pose. As her glasses slip down, Ririsa bends to retrieve them, inadvertently bumping into something on the way up. This clumsy maneuver sends her tumbling directly onto Okumura, who is completely unprepared for such a unexpected moment. He's never been in this situation before. Ririsa, thrilled at having achieved her bold, cosplay look, remains oblivious as Okumura promptly becomes embarrassed. Later, Ririsa examines the photos and turns beet red when she realizes she wasn't wearing appropriate undergarments for cosplay. There's a difference. She demands that Okumura delete all the images. Just then, an announcement calls her to the faculty office, forcing her to leave abruptly. Okumura decides to keep some of the pictures as souvenirs. Meanwhile, outside, Mikari enters the club building, immediately surrounded by a horde of male students desperate for her attention. They practically overwhelm her with their advances until another girl accidentally splashes water on Mikari, causing her to flee in embarrassment. Feeling lonely, Okumura ventures out to investigate the commotion and bumps into Mikari. He recognizes her instantly from childhood. She leaps into his arms, triggering a memory. 5 years ago, when Mikari had asked him if he had a crush on anyone, the young Okumura declared his love for Lilliel, claiming she could never do him dirty. That's why Mikari developed a deep-seated dislike for manga. It was the gateway to this kind of cringe-worthy behavior. As the situation unfolds, Okumura retreats to a room, barricading himself inside to avoid being labeled a traitor. He confronts Mikari about her sudden affection, and she playfully admits to wanting to make his heart race. Okumura questions her wetness, but she deflects by requesting to dry her clothes there. While he focuses on his manga, Mikari begins removing layers of clothing. Despite Okumura's protests and requests for her to be more modest, Mikari teases him with subtle gestures before settling on the couch and inviting him to join her. She enjoys his flustered reactions and playfully teases him about his feelings for her, blushing when he compliments her cuteness. Okumura, however, reminds her of her childish nature from their past encounters, causing Mikari to retort. In a surprising turn, Okumura accidentally slips while dropping his manga, landing on top of Mikari. She holds him close as he struggles to move, creating an awkward and intimate moment. Mikari proposes staying in that position longer, but Okumura, taken aback by the situation, starts taking off his jacket. He quickly covers her up instead, ensuring she doesn't catch a cold while desperately wishing he could erase the incident from existence. Mikari, never having been called ugly without any explanation, feels hurt and dresses back. Their conversation takes a turn as she inquires about Okumura's romantic interests. While Ririsa is the first person that comes to mind, he assures her of his unwavering loyalty to Lilliel, convincing himself that Ririsa was just a figment due to her cosplay. Mikari realizes that he remains unchanged and expresses her disappointment, later spending time on the rooftop contemplating her feelings for him. She reflects on her modeling career, believing that if she became successful, Okumura would finally notice her. Her manager had even questioned her infatuation with someone so ordinary when she could have anyone she desired. However, Mikari remembers Okumura defending her against bullies who harassed her in the past, calling her a wild caveman. This act of kindness is what ultimately sparked her interest in him, leading her to delve into his favorite manga and style her hair like Lilliel. While other boys showered her with attention from a young age, Okumura remained utterly indifferent. She swore she wouldn't betray him like the other 3D girls. Determined to capture his attention, Mikari resolved to become an angel for him, a shining beacon of virtue amidst his chaotic world. She would work tirelessly, proving her worth until he finally noticed her. Then, her eyes caught sight of a familiar window, the manga club. From the rooftop, she witnessed a girl approach Okumura. Ririsa, with her characteristic flair, began changing into her cosplay outfit, a spectacle that sent Mikari into a tailspin. She scrambled down from the roof, convinced Okumura had betrayed her trust by being swayed by another 3D girl. Upon reaching them, tears welled in her eyes as she screamed accusations of betrayal and deceit. But Ririsa's next words threw her completely off guard. She offered Mikari a chance to join their cosplay, an invitation that sent shockwaves through her. As Mikari gazed from the posters on the wall back at Ririsa, she understood what's happening. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Write in the comments if you want to see more of this anime on my channel. And this video ends. Have a good day.